Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer. That's right, guys. We're getting ready to do another episode of The Countdown. That's right, we're on episode number 36 this week. And this week we have 14 comics altogether. Unfortunately, no digital copies were able to get read. I just didn't have enough time. I've also lost a complete day this week where I have to work the entire day during the day tomorrow, so I don't have any time to do reviews. So I'm trying to fit in everything else today within these few hours. So I apologize for maybe the lack of videos. But with that being said, let's just jump right into the countdown with number 14. Yes, Suicide Squad, the Forever Evil tie-in, issue number 25. Harley Quinn is the traitor here, and she is working with the Thinker in order to get OMAC, because OMAC is the ultimate weapon here. What did I think about this book? I don't know. I didn't think it was impressive whatsoever. Lots of dialogue here, which wasn't the problem. I'm not a fan of the particular artwork. It seems to be real heavy on inks. It saturates the pencils, in my opinion. And I find that for this to be a tie-in is really the stretch here. The only thing that's really a tie-in in this particular issue is that the lights are out and the computers are down. And it takes place at, I think it was at Belle Reve prison. I think that's the prison that it's at in this one. But you know, when you get to the end of this issue, you're like, okay, well, it has to do with Amanda Waller trying to stop the Thinker. She's teaming up with Commissioner Gordon's son, and she has to bring out Task Force. I think it's U or Y or whatever it is, and because they had 23 other task force before Task Force X. And at the end, when Amanda Waller opens this up, you get this right here. And I think that's King Shark's dad. I'm not 100% sure on that. But at the end, I found it cheesy and kind of disinteresting. And I just was like, okay. So I really didn't like it. It was just a little lame. So I don't think I'm going to continue the Forever Evil tie-in and the Suicide Squad. Gave it a couple issues, just not for me. So I'm going to give this book a 2 out of 5. Okay, so next we move on to number 13. And this one is 5, issue number 9, and the cover says "Betrayed by Gypsy." Let me just say that the artwork on the cover is really good. The artwork inside the book is done phenomenally as well. It's always a great book to look at. However, at this point in time with Vibe, with it coming to its conclusion, I feel like the book has kind of lost its way ever since he's traveled in this time in this place called Paradell. Um, and he's trying to rescue Gypsy. He's trying to rescue his brother mentally, because his brother is the one that's named Rupture. And, and you got Agent Gunn in the whole thing, trying to help, I think, Dante or Cisco. I forgot that Dante is his other brother's name. And I just felt that same with this issue. It was kind of no, I was kind of not interested. I felt like, oh, man, this book is kind of really veered off from where it was in issue 1. And once this story arc ends, I mean, this is the end of Vibe. So by the time you got to the end of the actual issue here, you get to see the Breacher, who put this chest plate in him, is really a bomb that's blowing up everything that's going on. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't find this one that interesting either. It's kind of disappointing because I really like this series, and then ever since last issue, it's kind of been veering off. So I'm giving this one a 2.5 out of 5 stars as well. I didn't like it. I found myself not caring, and I really want to kind of finish the series because read every single issue. So next is number 12, Avengers Arena, issue number 17. This is another series that's been coming to a close as well. I've invested a lot into this series. There's 17 issues. There's one more issue left. But this story here, it's not too much in depth anymore. There's a lot going on because Anchorism is freaking out because Bloodstone killed his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's name was Nara. And it's just everyone is gathering upon each other now. Everyone's killing each other. And you got X-23 that's been suffering from this trigger scent that's slicing up Hazmat. It's just complete chaos that's going on. Reptile is kicking Anchorism's ass, and you got what's it called? Nico is trying to kill Bloodstone, and then just everyone's at each other's throat here. And then you get Cammy, who takes the amulet from the current Darkhawk, and now she becomes a Darkhawk, and it becomes Cammy Hawk. And then you have Arcade, who's trying to persuade Katie, the one that transforms from a girl to a guy, which is kind of weird in itself, to be part of the whole conclusion to this whole murder world situation. And it's just one complete jumbled mess. And at the end of it, you get Hazmat, who's pleading, saying, please stop, we can't, this is exactly what he wants. And Hazmat's down to 1 cube, and we're going to see what happens and who's the winner and who's the losers and everything else. And then she's like, oh, there's something terribly wrong, and that's kind of how it ends. So lots of stuff going on in this issue. There's one issue left. I don't know how it's going to close. I think there's one issue left. But I found it was like, okay, now how are we going to close it all? I found it a little bit of a jumbled mess, and this is where the series gets a little predictable at this point in this issue, because you knew eventually that they were going to turn on each other. So compared to the last issue, everyone was kind of working together to make each other better, and the deaths were for a reason. Now everyone just lost it, and everyone's just killing each other. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But this was an average issue for me. It was 3 out of 5. Leave it up to you guys to see what you guys want, if you want to pick it up or not. So moving on to issue number 11. Number 11 was Cataclysm Ultimate Comics Spider-Man issue number 1. So we end Ultimate Spider-Man now, and we move on to Ultimate Comics Spider-Man dealing with this whole Cataclysm thing. And the last issue, you get to see a whole bunch of Ultimate Spider-Man. He was the one talking to Genki, seeing that Galactus was coming and starting, this whole world was being destroyed, or New Jersey was being destroyed. S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know what to do. The Ultimates didn't know what to do. So now how's he going to start off here with Ultimate Comics Spider-Man? I felt that this was a complete filler. This had nothing to do really with Galactus and what's going on in the current story, because this takes place yesterday, before all the chaos started. And you get a lot with Jessica Drew talking about how, is she going to be kicked off the team, or isn't she going to be kicked off the team because she broke some kind of, she broke a protocol, and she's with the Ultimates discussing everything that's going on. The issue had lots of humor in there, which I appreciated. But however, it just went from hero to hero to hero, discussing on, I'm going to be a hero. I mean, that's kind of what it was. You had this funny scene with Miles in there, who's falling asleep at school, and then it moves on to Bombshell, how she breaks her parole, but she wants to be a hero. And then it moves on from Bombshell, and then it moves on to what's it called? Cloak and Dagger, how it felt good to do something good, so it moved on from them. And then at the end of the issue, it just you find out that all of a sudden you see Galactus make that appearance, and then you see S.H.I.E.L.D. heading towards Galactus. So this really had nothing to do at all with Cataclysm, because it takes place the day before. And I kind of got a little bit upset about that, because I felt that this was really an unnecessary issue, completely. because the last page, all you get is Galactus walking towards Jersey. So unnecessary. Again, 3 out of 5. It was good to see the humor, good to see the characters in it, but I, I thought it was going to be something better than that. So I have to wait for issue 2 for it to develop. So moving on to the top 10. Number 10, X-Men Gold. If you're an X-Men fan, hey, you're going to like this. Now, you may think, okay, why is this number 10 on your list, Mike? To tell you the truth, guys, comics this week were really not bad. There's a couple issues there that are under 3s, but overall, from here on out, the comics are really pretty solid, and I had a tough choice on making my number 1 through probably number 4 pick. They were all about the same. But here, top 10. This book is a hefty price point. It's $6. You got to make the decision to see whether or not it's up to you if you're a big enough X-Men fan if you want to invest in this. I've read lots of X-Men stories over my years. I have lots of X-Men books. I did like this. However, I wanted something a little bit more, I guess. I don't know what I was expecting from this, but there's a lot of short stories in here, and you, as a fan of the X-Men, are going to like the book, the stories that you like the most. The first story had to do with Chris Claremont, who wrote this book, and had to do with Kitty Pryde. So if you're a Kitty Pryde fan, you're going to like this story. However, I wasn't fond of the artwork in here. I wasn't fond of the flow within the first story. I felt it was a little bit jumpy, a lot of dialogue kind of crammed into the story, and I felt that it was a little weak, so I really didn't care for it all that much. The next story you get in the issue is you talk about the sorrow beneath the point. Here it's scripted by Stan Lee, so it has that Stan Lee type of feel to it. Artwork's a little bit different. It's sketchy, but it has to do with your first-class X-Men fighting over for Jean Grey, which I thought was a cute little story. However, it's only a few pages long, and maybe you would have liked to see that more. Then there was a story with Banshee and Sunfire in here. This was a pretty solid, a little interesting story in here, but I felt that, I don't know, was it really needed in here? And then you get another story, which I felt, for me, this story was the best, and this was the option story. This was the story that had to do with Wolverine joining the group he's in the group for the first time. He's newly equated to the X-Men, or this group is new to him, and he finds all these different ways of killing the different X-Men. I thought this was a phenomenal story. How to kill Banshee, how to kill Warhawk, how to kill, all these different characters. And then when it came to Storm, it was like, she's like, oh, she can kick my ass. So I thought that was good. Then you have this whole weird little story with Xavier and Magneto, and you get to see the history between them. So, okay story. And then at the end, you get something that I was really disappointed that I really did not want to happen. Is you got previews of The Amazing X-Men, which already came out last week, and then you also got a book that came out this week as well, and that was All New X-Men, and I just wasn't happy about that, because these books already came out this week. If you're a fan, you're already buying it. Why waste pages on here? And I wasn't a big fan of that. I did like this last page here, classic Kitty. She's saying here's to 50 more. But overall, the book was just, it was good, but I thought it was something better. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So moving on, I think we're moving on to the number 9 book of the week. I hope that's right, because I didn't label them this week. Number 9 book is Batman, the black cover. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. The black cover, issue whatever. Issue 25 from Zero Year. Got to appreciate the story here with this particular book. There's not a lot of action. There's not a lot going on. A lot of people have commented me saying that I don't feel connected to it. I'm falling with disinterest in the actual series, and I want something more out of this. And I can agree with you there. I did like the story. I wish there was more Batman here. There was just a lot of dialogue. This had to do with Dr. Death, with the whole thing with people becoming trees, I guess. And but the one thing that you got to appreciate out of this story is the first time meetings between Lucius Fox, first time meeting between really Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon. You get to see Pamela Isley in there. So you get to witness those few things in there that, as a Batman fan, I guess you can appreciate. You get to see a little bit of Alfred in there backing Bruce Wayne up when Commissioner Gordon goes to defend him. So in those things you can appreciate it. However, if you wanted to see more Batman, this definitely wasn't the issue for it. And for the $4.99 price point, I felt maybe they could have inserted some more action in there. But I guess you're paying for this cool ass cover, so one of the best covers I think personally of the year. So I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. You guys make the call on that, but that's my grade on this one. So moving on, we're going to move on to number 8. And number 8 was All New X-Men. Basically, the backlash or the aftermath, the Battle of the Atom, with all of Kitty Pryde's leaving the X-Men, going on to the Uncanny X-Men, joining Cyclops. And in this issue, you get to see them trying to get all together, but everyone's all tired from all the aftermath and whatnot. It's kind of like you get to see Kitty here trying to be Cyclops' best friend by kind of punching him in the shoulder here, and there's some good dialogue I can appreciate here with Iceman. I think he's a good character in the series. I think he's funny, and you get to see some tension between the Stepford sisters and Jean Grey. They just don't get along, so there's kind of going to be some growing pains within this brand new team here. And then you get some creepy-ass dialogue again with this whole Hank McCoy. I kind of thought they left this behind, but they dug it back up, and this was the whole Jean Grey and Beast's relationship, how Jean made this decision, to go with Cyclops, and Hank didn't agree with it. So that was going on, and there's a lot of things going on. And then by the time we get to the end of the issue, you get to see the birth of the new X-Men team with the First Class team. I did like the artwork in here. Again, Jay told me how to say the guy's name, and I forgot how to say it. And Stewart and Eminem, I don't know how to say the guy's name. But I love the artwork. I love the facial expressions Kitty Pryde and Magic have to offer here. Really good. They seem to be friends again. And this is one of the best things I like about this series is the artwork because of the facial expressions. You read so much from the character with their expressions on here. But by the end, again, you get the First Class X-Men with their new uniforms, their new gear, and being ready to go. And so, yeah, I thought this was a pretty good issue. Not bad. I've seen better X-Men issues, but still, this was a solid issue. So I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next we move on to, I hope it's number 7. We count 1, 2. Yes, number 7. Number 7 is the Superior Spider-Man issue number 21 with the Stunner on the cover. In this particular issue, you get to see the return of the Stunner, and if you guys were not familiar with her, she is a 90s reject character. But they brought her back. Dan Slott brought her back from the 90s and brought her back from her coma to destroy Superior Spider-Man because supposedly Superior destroyed Doc Ock, and Doc Ock was the Stunner's love interest. You get to see a couple things in this issue. You get to see Carly, which pays her respects to Peter, which was really nice. However, she gets captured by the Goblin. And then you also get to see Superior get his doctrine, which was a really interesting tale to see how he got his doctrine back. But basically, when he defeats Stunner, he gets the little virtual reality helmet and puts it on and pretends or shows that Dr. Octopus is still alive and goes to the professor's house and says and talks to him and sits him down and makes him say, hey, drop the charges against Peter so he can get this doctrine and whatnot. So that was really interesting. And again, you get to see, again, not another 90s brought back of what Dr. Octopus looked like back in the day, because that's how he was drawn in the 90s. He was drawn with that jacket on. Eric Larson was the one who drew him like this. So it was really cool to reference that back. A lot of things worked out for Peter, or for Superior, in this particular issue. And every time you think things are going to crumble around Doc Ock, he seems to fix it. Where it was always completely opposite for Peter. But again, this is completely opposite book. So we're going to see what happens in the next issue with this whole thing with the Venom War. You guys can see I got the new poster up promoting that thing up there, because I really cannot wait to see how Flash Thompson and Doc Ock are going to do battle here. So cool stuff. I give this one a 3. Was it 3.5? Yeah, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think that was the grade that I gave it. So moving on, we're going to move on to number 6 this week. And number 6 is The Walking Dead, issue number 116. Here you have Holly on the cover, you have Rick, and you have Negan. Basically, it's first strike. That's what this war has to do with. And in the particular issue, you get to see Holly, who sacrifices herself. Rick comes up with this grand plan to make the first strike. He has all his people shooting all the windows. And the reason why he shoots all the windows at Negan's facility is to draw the zombies to their facility. So he's drawing all the zombies to the facility. And then what Rick is going to do is he's going to drive the car, open the gate, and all the zombies are going to flood the facility and take over Negan's complex. But what happens is Holly sticks her little ass in the way, and she winds up saying, Rick, you can't do this. You mean too much to these people. And Rick's like, no, Holly, go back. You can't do this without me. Negan has this thing, and he wants me alive, so that's why I'm best for this. So basically, she knees Rick in the balls, and she drives the car into the fence, and the next thing you wind up seeing is that the zombies start intruding the facility, and everyone's cheering and hollering, and everyone's like, yay! And Rick is like, this is no time for a celebration. He's like, the war has only just begun. So, that's it. That's how the war is. That's the first strike. Negan had a bargaining chip in the first opening pages. It pretty much failed. And Rick and his group were in control from there on out. This was a good issue. However, it was so quick, and the plan was like so simplistic. And I just was expecting a little bit more. But this is a story that's going to go a little bit for a little while. I mean, every issue you're going to get every 2 weeks, I guess, except for December because of Christmas. But you're going to get that. You're going to get things that are going to be slow. You're going to get a high pace. You're going to get good cliffhangers. So I have full trust in Robert Kirkman. I think it's going to be a good series in the end. Good story arc. And I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So next we move on. And we move on to top 5. Number 5. Forever Evil Arkham War, issue number 2. I really liked this issue. I thought this issue was pretty badass. I saw the Talons on here, and I was kind of like, what do the Talons have to offer in here? But they're kind of like the weapon to have. They're like a bunch of zombies that are cryogenically frozen. And basically, Bane wants control of them so he can help get control of Gotham. I thought was pretty cool. The opening pages opens up with Brute, who is trying to destroy the Man-Bat, and it doesn't happen so good. The Man-Bats are the ones that are in control and wind up taking care of Brute here. Commissioner Gordon is trapped inside this like van or whatnot. But he's kind of working with the Penguin here, and the Penguin is kind of working with Bane, and he's kind of working with Scarecrow, so he's kind of got all angles. And I really like the Penguin in this actual series because he knows how to play the game. He's trying to control everything, and he's using Bane to his advantage. And again, he rats out Scarecrow about having the the Talons, to using them to take over the city. So this was really interesting here. If you guys have not picked this up, I suggest it. There's only one issue before this one. This is issue 2, and this was a really fun read. I really enjoyed it. The artwork is really good here. The end of the issue winds up going against again Man-Bat and Bane, fighting over these talons. And by the time we get to the end of the issue, you see Commissioner Gordon, escaping, and he's actually now working with Bane as well. So really interesting thing here. I enjoyed this book. So again, I suggest you guys go out and pick this one up. I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It's just fun read. Great artwork here too. So next, we're going to go on to number 4. And number 4 is Justice League of America, issue number 9, tie-in to Forever Evil. Now, this is a really good issue. I say it was a 4-star book, almost 4.5 in my opinion. And this continues where we last left off, how our Justice League of America heroes, or Justice League heroes, are trapped in this prison where they still don't know where they're trapped in. They just know that it's all their biggest fears coming true, and you can't get sucked into it. But what was really cool in this issue is that it focused on Stargirl. And you don't have an issue since the Justice League JLA has been out, and it's been 9 issues. You have not had an issue that's really focused on her. And this issue was all about her. And that's what made this issue so fantastic. Artwork's really good here. Enjoyed it. It was Tom Derenick, if I said his name right. Matt Kidnett was the writer. And we see John, Martian Manhunter, he actually gets trapped in his own prison. He winds up fighting himself. Stargirl takes it upon herself to go out there and go throughout the prison and try to rescue him. And she comes across Diana, and she glimpsely sees brief things of herself, trying not to fall into the prison's trap. But she avoids it each and every time. And she, Martian Manhunter comes across Aquaman, and as he gets to the bottom again, he comes across himself. And Stargirl comes across Shazam, and it was really cool to see this. And you find out that why she did not get captured in his prison is because of her youthfulness, and because of her willpower, because of how she's so innocent, and she's always looking to the optimism side of things. So she's a very positive person, and she did not fall into the prison's trap. So in the end of the issue, she winds up rescuing Martian Manhunter, and she winds up kicking the duplicate's ass, and they wind up escaping at the end of the actual issue. But then all of a sudden, you get to the end of the issue, and they wind up coming about these guys here. So it's like, okay, and then it says next issue, it says all in your head. So it's like, okay, what's going on now? Because she comes across, was it Giganta and Copperhead and Deathstroke, and I thought they were in the Argus issue, so I don't know what's going on here. So the conclusion to this kind of left me with a so but it was a good issue. I enjoyed it. Really love Stargirl here. Kind of gets you more of a feel of her character if you're not familiar with her. So, and that's why I liked it so much. So I gave this one a 4 out of 5. All right. Excuse me. So moving on, we go into our top 3. Top 3, number 3, and that is Superman, Wonder Woman. This could have been just as easily as my number 1 pick, but there was one thing that kind of got me about this issue. This was like 2-minute read for me, and it's kind of like meeting the family and you're getting your ass kicked type of thing. It's kind of like, okay, this is like, I guess superheroes have to meet the love interest family as well, so we're got to meet the in-laws also, and that's kind of what this was. And it was kind of just a quick issue, a quick read. It was almost like a filler in a way, but the ending was just like, oh my god, I can't believe that this happened. But this issue starts off just like this. Boom. And it's just like, that Doomsday and Wonder Woman were doing this battle. She's getting her ass beat. She's got her legs, or her arms all busted. And what happened was Doomsday wound up coming from the Phantom Zone, but he quickly got retracted back. And I thought that was just a kind of a cheap cop out to just end this brief little war between the characters, because she was about to get her ass handed to her. And let me just say that Tony S. Daniel is a fantastic artist. He draws beautifully. And as long as he's on this book, I'll probably be on this book too. But Superman takes care of and helps Wonder Woman and explains who Doomsday is, what's he about, where he's from, what he represents. And Wonder Woman's just like, all right, you can take him. Yeah, right. You were just about to get your ass kicked, and you saying you could take him? No, I don't think so there, Miss Fancy Pants. So anyway, she gives him this little speech about, oh, you can defeat anything. It's all in your heart. And that's what she says. So they go back to the armory here, and they're about to go get some weapons, I guess, to help go against Doomsday or whatnot. And then what happens is Superman comes across Apollo and Strife, I think is her name. Not a huge Wonder Woman expert, so I don't know the family aspect of Wonder Woman, but I know, I guess this is her brother. And what happens is Apollo's a little cocky. He thinks that, you know what, I can talk to Diana however I want. And Superman winds up sitting there going, well, you know what? You talk to her, you're going to feel the force of me. And Apollo just sits there and gives him a slap, and Superman goes flying. And it's like, damn. And Diana gets pissed off. But you see this one page here that has to do with Cat, that she can't get a hold of Clark, and that was pretty much about it. Superman rises from the ashes, and he's like, she was just about to kick Apollo's ass, and he's like, oh, please. And she's like, let me. And he gives Apollo this big punch in the face, and he's like, what are you, stupid? I am the sun. And I think the greatest thing in the world is that Superman feeds off the sun, and he's just like, you just filled me with a bunch of adrenaline, and he's just all pumped, and he just sits there and winds up punching him through the mountain. I loved it. I thought it was so hysterical. And so they're going to build these weapons for Superman or whatnot, and then all of a sudden at the end of the issue, you wind up seeing the camels and these guys in this desert, and they're just like, what? And the next thing you see is all their arms and all their limbs are getting, thrown apart, and the next thing you see is the next thing that comes from this Phantom Zone. And if you're a Superman fan, you're going to be pumped to see this right here, and that is Zod. Now, does he stay? I don't know. We'll see. But it says only Zod forgives, and Zod draws a pretty intense. Tony S. Daniel draws a pretty intense General Zod, and that was pretty badass. I really enjoyed this issue. It was a 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. Again, the little in-law thing, the little, thing between Apollo and Superman, I felt was kind of fillerish just to get to the whole Zod thing. So already we brought out Doomsday and we brought out Zod. So we'll see where it goes from there. So next, number 2 on this week's countdown is Manifest Destiny. I want to say Dynasty. Every time I look at this book, it's what naturally flows out of my mouth. The Hulk's big toe said, Mike, it's Destiny, not Dynasty. I'm like, I know, but it's just what flows out of my mouth. I got the variant cover on this particular book. Badass cover here. It's got this bull-like creature. I forgot the mythology term for the creature, but it's really cool cover here. Ryan Ottley does the cover. This was the reason why I picked up this series. I'm not a fan of this time period of the early 1800s. Kind of a turnoff for me. It's like Old West, all that stuff. I'm not a huge fan of that. But where I see this book actually going is that I see these guys exploring times and different times, space times. I see mythological creatures that they're going to come across, how they're going to handle these creatures. It's interesting me. I want to see more. And in their first adventure, they wind up coming across this big ark that's like made out of leaves and branches and whatnot. And you get to see some interesting things like flowers like this that are shaped like skeletons. And then along the way, you don't have people here that are knowing what's going on in the mission. They were brought on this mission by President Jefferson to aid these people to travel uncharted territory, but not to battle uncharted creatures. And this is what they have to deal with the first issue. The first issue goes into a bunch of past history of certain characters and why they're on this mission. And then you get a traitor or a convict that basically kills one of the sergeants. And then you see for the first time one of these mythological creatures in here. And you get to see them. And then our guys, our sergeants and our captains, Lewis and Clark, wind up killing this right here, which was on the cover. So this is just a little scratch in the surface to see what is going to come in this series. So this is a totally different type of comic. I really enjoyed it. I'm intrigued by it. This is why I got the #2 spot of the week. But there was one more book that was slightly better that I thought was much more interesting than this. And it was kind of a dog for the past couple issues for me. Maybe I was just in the wrong mindset or whatnot, but it was really good. This book was a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you guys can get it, if you have a chance to read it, give it a chance. I think it's going to be a really, really great series. So now, our #1 book of the week is The Superior Foes of Spider-Man. This was freaking hysterical. Sinister Six going after Silvermane's head. This is what we've been reading to get to this conclusion here. And last couple of issues for me was real dialogue heavy. Something about it didn't interest me as much as it did in the past, but this issue just grabbed me, and this was so funny. In the last issue, you got to see the Shocker. He gets dumped in the water in his car, totally like mob type of style stuff. Then you get this guy, his name is Tommy. He's being held prisoner by the Owl. And, you know, he's giving us this whole spiel and this story about everything that's going on. He's talking about this man bull who screws his girlfriend and all this other stuff. And this guy, Tommy, has no chance. He gets overrun by rats. So that's how the story opens up. And the rats all eat him. And the owl winds up eating the rat that wound up eating this Tommy guy, which is crazy in itself. But the main part of the story goes back to the Sinister Six, where you got Mach 4, and you got Speed Demon, and you got Overdrive, and you got the Beetle, and Boomerang, or whatever it is. So you got all these guys, and they're gonna penetrate. They're gonna go into this this holding cell or whatever it is here, and they gotta capture Silvermane's head. And no one's paying attention. They don't give a shit. They're such a bunch of slackers, and I thought it was so funny. And the only person that really, you know, that's really good here it's the Beetle. She comes up with this freaking manual, this diagram to help where to go, what's everything's going on. Boomerang wants nothing to do with it. He flaps the shit around. He winds up sitting there. Throwing the books all over the place. She's like, "You're not the leader. I'm the leader here." And she's like, "Well, if you give me the slightest indication that you're any way of a competent leader," she's like, maybe I would follow you. But until then, I'm going to kind of do my own thing," which is really funny. She's like wondering where the Shocker is. And it was so funny. I mean, he's trying to come up with all these excuses. It's so funny. It's like got the gears turning. Really great stuff here. And she's just like, "I wish he was dead in the ocean." It's so awesome. And then you see the plan in place. They got to get Silvermane's head. So they go in and they get all these tricks. They destroy all the guards and things like that. And they get this helicopter, blows up the facility. And again, Boomerang doesn't know where he's going. Beetle hands him the manual. And he's like, "Oh, okay, there it is." And the best page of this issue was, I love... And again, this reminds me of Hawkeye, but right now I think this is kind of better than Hawkeye. Has this big diagram of the underground complex. Boomerang's like, "This is a piece of cake. There's no problem." And you get this right here. You get this whole thing. So you get in the first room, it's empty. Second room, you got a couple of thugs. Third room, you got some sniper guys. Then you get some giant scorpions, some wolfmen guys. You get the thing that it's like a video game. It's like you get the thing that goes up and down and smashes you. You get ninjas. You get like Chuck Norris with the freaking nunchucks. And then you got Silvermane's head at the end. It was so awesome. I so enjoyed this issue. So they do all that stuff. They come across it. Boomerang goes through the elevator. And you come across that it's not really Silvermane's head. It's an art piece of Doctor Doom without his helmet on. You get to see who Doctor Doom's face really is. But by the end of the issue, the biggest surprise is Shocker comes out of the car and you see it, and it's just like this kid comes across him, and it's a kid that was talked about a couple issues back. Kid's like, you okay, mister? Do you need a doctor? Do you need to do this? And you see the Shocker's like, kids, go to school. Don't do drugs. And then you come across and you actually do see Silvermane's head on this freaking car. And the next thing you see is Shocker's like, what? And he takes the head and he takes off. I thought this was awesome. This was so funny. I really enjoyed this issue. Much improved for me than the last couple. But this was great. It's so fun to see these characters in a whole new highlight. And that's what makes this book so special. And yeah, it does have that Hawkeye feel, but I feel now that it's fitting in its own as well, too. Definitely a different style book. Great writing here by Nick Spencer. And I'm going to be keeping this for a long time. And freaking Marvel's goddamn stupid covers with their fingerprints sitting on my covers. I just think it's so cheap. But anyway, really great book. Really enjoyed it. 5 stars. Had good pacing this time. A little bit of every character in here. Guys, I can recommend that. So, guys, there you have it. Sorry, it's a little lengthier than usual. It's 14 comics. And, guys, as always, you saw the worst. You saw the best. And until the next comic book review, guys, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And I'll see you guys in the next comic book review. Take care, everyone. Bye.